pleasure to announce our next author, Mike ROSANOVA. Mike came to us as an author in search of a publisher over a year ago. And he was writing his first memoir, first in a trilogy. Today he's presenting his second. Last year he presented his first in the set. Mike is a retired adjunct professor in sociology and psychology. He's also an expert in Montessori education, and would you believe he once operated a Montessori school out of this very building? So
I did.
He did. So we're excited to have him here today, and please help me in welcoming Mike.
Okay. 40 years teaching, I have some bad habits. And one of my bad habits is to ask you to give me a hand with something. There are 5 tables, I think, and there are 5 bunches, okay? 5 bunches of single-page handouts. And you're gonna see at the top of the handout, every person needs one of these, or maybe 2, maybe 3. One's for you, and one is for a friend, especially if your friend works at a bookstore or a library, okay? So if you know anybody who works in a bookstore or a library, or in fact anybody who likes giving books at Christmas or Hanukkah, then they need a copy of this. And what this pitch letter is going to tell you is what a trilogy is, because I have not 1, not 2, but 3 books. All together that makes a trilogy. And this story comes from a trilogy of stories, book 1, book 2, book 3, okay? And that's why I'm passing out this pitch letter to each of you. The pitch letter explains what the trilogy is about, which is great. Please don't read it now. I'm going to read you a story, and I'd like you to listen to the story that I have to tell you, okay? The story is called The Wrong Train. Not the right train, The Wrong Train, by Mike. That's me. Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian lyricist / novelist, was born in 1947, just a few years before me. Not dead yet, neither am I. Coelho has an official biography on Wikipedia. Mike ROSANOVA doesn't. Doesn't matter. You're here, it's now. You just heard a real historian. A real historian wants to tell you the facts. I'm not a historian. I want to tell you the truth. Paulo Coelho was born on the 24th of August, 1947 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He attended a Jesuit school. Us Dominicans in the audience, of course, will raise an objection or two, but Jesuits are okay sometimes. At the age of 17, Coelho's parents committed him to a mental institution from which he escaped not once, not twice, 3 times he escaped until he was finally released at the age of 20. Quellia later remarked, quote, "It wasn't that they wanted to hurt me. They just didn't know what to do. They did not do that to destroy me. They did it to save me." There was a German MD in Germany. His name was Fritz Perls, who, against his parents' advice and wishes, joined the German army during World War I. He spent his early career treating soldiers with brain injuries. Escaping from the Nazis in 1933, Perls developed a form of psychotherapy aimed at repairing and restoring the parts of lives that experience had ripped away. Their wholeness, their gestalt. The core of Gestalt therapy is enhanced awareness of sensation, enhanced awareness of perception, enhanced awareness of bodily feelings, emotion, behavior in the present moment. Now that you've grown up. Before he died, Perls wrote a quirky, playful, poetic memoir of his life and work, Ann Arbor, U, Michigan Press, 1969. Its title, In and Out of the Garbage Pail. Paulo Coelho, more than most, has led a life both in and out of the garbage pail. His romantic Rio rhythms, his heartfelt novels, his survival from drugs and disaster attest to both loss and life regained. Life both in and out of the garbage pail. Big brains, broken hearts. Gosh, that's the name of my trilogy. What can I say? That's Paulo. Looks pretty good, doesn't he? Something worked right in his life. There's a rapid transit line that runs from Oak Park toward Lake Michigan. It loops around the loop, or at least it used to. You used to be able to fall asleep on the old Lake Street line and never get lost. The train would head west again and bring you home. There was no such thing as the wrong train. Every train brought you home. My father was born on Miller Street, just a few strides north of Taylor Street, the kind of place you wanted to avoid in 1913 when he was born, the kind of place you wanted to avoid in 1920 when his mother died of pneumonia in the Spanish flu pandemic. He was a 7. His big sister, Rosie, was just a little older. Their father, the widower, was a musician playing neighborhood vaudeville and building musical instruments on the side. When my eldest brother, Al, Bubby, graduated from med school, he interned at Cook County Hospital, 5 or 6 blocks north of Taylor Street. It was an excellent place to intern, the kind of public hospital where not a single demon known to modern man did not regularly rear its fearsome head. It was an opportunity. It was an honor. My brother Al moved himself and his family into the old neighborhood, Taylor Street. My God, said my father at the time, when I was a kid, what wouldn't I have given to get out of that place? A few years ago, I discovered The Hunting Accident, a true story of crime and poetry by David Carlson and Landis Blair, New York, First, Second Books, 2017. It's a remarkable prize-winning graphic novel based on Carlson and Landis's interviews of Charlie Rizzo. Charlie Rizzo's memories of growing up on Taylor Street in the care of his blind, widowed father, Matt. Matt's hidden past included his years as the Stateville prison cellmate of Nathan Leopold, the Leopold of Leopold and Loeb, the kidnap and murder crime of the century, the one where world-famous Clarence Darrow argued the defense and lost. It was 1936 when Leopold's wealthy and elegant University of Chicago classmate, Richard Loeb, Leopold's lover, was murdered. Leopold and Loeb had been sent together to Crest Hill, Illinois, outside of Joliet. They were put in separate cells. It was in a Stateville prison lavatory, a shower room. There was another inmate, but he was never convicted. After all, Leopold and Loeb were filthy rich, Jewish, gay. Loeb was slashed to death with a shaving razor. Charlie's dad, Matt, had already been sentenced to share a cell with Nathan Leopold before the murder. Matt himself, still young, was widowed. He was blind. He was helpless, with a son, Charlie, back on Taylor Street. Nathan Leopold taught Matt to read with Braille, and then took him on as a teaching assistant in the prison education courses that he taught in the Opticon Tower at Stateville. It was Nathan Leopold, the murderer, who gave the city kid from Taylor Street the quality University of Chicago education that he never otherwise would have had. It was Matt who raised Charlie back on Taylor Street once he got out of jail. That was Matt, the guy with black glasses and a walking stick. Charlie was the spiteful teenager who didn't have a clue. Would it surprise you to learn that Matt ended up as a prison intellectual, someone who spent his after-prison life with an adolescent son who knew none of his story? A son who could not understand his father's obsession with translations of Dante's Divine Comedy out of the original Italian. Matt was the father of an unforgiving son. Matt was the sullen, blind man obsessed with writing and publishing poetry. No. From leafy suburban Oak Park, there was no wrong train. A train that would take you to the Taylor Street where my father grew up. And that's just what my parents wanted. One of the many things we never discussed. When I was in Naples, in my early 20s, thanks to the favors that people in Italy owed to Bill Kessin, my child psychology teacher and patron back at Yale, I carried my questionnaires and my glorious research as far as Cosenza, in the toe of the Italian boot, La Regione di Calabria. By that time, I was more than confident of my Italian. I was picking up more and more peripherally without really trying. In one of the schools, an Istituto Tecnico, one of the kids came up to me after the questionnaires were done. "Rosanova," he declared. "Celico è pieno zeppo di Rosanova." The town of Celico is chock full of Rosanovas. There really is a town called Celico. You can find it on the internet. It's so high up on the mountainsides that they run ski resorts there. A mini climate right in the middle of the Mediterranean. There's an ancient abbey there, still alive, still well enough to levy taxes and make off with what the local aristocrats feel they need. FS. It was on an FS train, Ferrovie dello Stato, the system that runs from the frozen heights of the Alps all the way down to the sandy beaches of Sicily. It was a hot and sweaty day long, long ago, when I was young. Standing there on the train platform in Cosenza, I kept on thinking that I would be back. I would see that crazy town chock full of Rosanovas. They would invite me to sit down, share a bicchierino di vino, just like the characters in Wes Anderson's 7-minute short, Castello Cavalcanti. They would offer me a plate of pasta. They would insist, because otherwise I might miss the sky blue post office bus. In Anderson's film, it's 1955, and there's a cross-country speed car race, the Molte Miglia, the so many miles race. Speeding car after speeding car after speeding car through the town of Castello Cavalcanti. Wouldn't you know, it was the guy driving the last damn race car. His name was Joe Cavalcanti, an Italian-American ignoramus worthy of Mark Twain's novel Innocents Abroad, 1869. His jazzy 1955 American race car crashes directly into the concrete base of the welcoming Jesus statue, the one with outstretched, welcoming arms, which stands dead center in the dead center of town. Joe Cavalcanti jumps out of his car, cursing his American cousin, his mechanic from New York, who clearly was at fault for screwing the steering wheel on backwards. But when Joe emerges from his crumpled vehicle, he looks around the village piazza, and there, sitting peacefully, unmoved, is a cafe table of old men, playing cards, chatting, as though nothing of note had occurred. They invite Joe to sit down, and within a few minutes, Joe takes note of the faces around him and declares, "Is your name Michelangelo? Oh my God, are you my great-great-granduncle Michelangelo, the one who stayed behind?" Well, of course he is. This is a Wes Anderson movie. The sky blue postal system Pullman bus pulls up on schedule. Joe's 20 minutes of time warp is up. But in the meantime, the lady behind the counter in the cafe has decided that the crazy, jazzy American needs something to eat. "Spaghetti," says Joe. And when the lady brings it, as Joe is wolfing it down, the lady refuses Joe's offer to pay. After all, it's Italy. And you don't expect someone to pay, much less to tip, if you know you're dealing with a relative. Not if you know he has chosen not to get on that goddamn bus and go away. But if you know anything about me, you know that I keep my appointments, I keep my promises, and I really had to get back to Piazza Dante via Mezzocanone, the Istituto di Psicologia, write up a report and all the rest. The view from the platform of the Cosenza train station was enchanting, I tell you. I watched the long shadows on that perfect sunlit day fade into dusk as I boarded the train back to Naples. And I never returned. And now I'm 76, and even though that train did carry me back to Naples right on time, I know now it was the wrong train. Another wrong train, a different one, might have brought me to the right place. All paths lead nowhere. There are no timetables that tell the truth. There's only so much time. Grazie dell'ascolto, thanks for listening. At the end of the presentations, please stop by my book table. I have a free copy of the story just for you. Anybody who buys books 1 and 2 of the trilogy gets $10 off.
Thank you.